Sludge, how you do, buckaroos, and how the heck are you? It's kind of a part two, but not really, I guess. Just a sort of an addition or an addendum. I've got a little bit of the Greenhouse Multi-Grain Rauschlager, conditioned on American Oak Foeder, but I also have a little bit of the What Even Is a Gingerbread Brown Ale. Anyway, both from Evil Twin. I had a little bit of each of these left. So I thought I'd do a whiskey pairing with each. Now, the Rauschlager, you think it'd be a little more delicate, but it does have that oak smoke. So I didn't want necessarily a heavy whiskey. I was looking for something that would complement it. Let me show you that can. Let me show you the rest of this beer. It looks like, but that oak really gives it a lot of flavor. So what I decided to do with it is go with the Endeavor Malt Whiskey. This is a small batch malt whiskey from Endeavor Brewing and Spirits out of Columbus, Ohio. Our single malt whiskey is made using a combination of Scottish single malt imported from Speyside and specialty malt from Belgium. This delicate whiskey produces notes of sweet and earthy flavors. Yeah, that delicate whiskey, it's why I wanted to pair it with this one. I thought it would work and not overtake it. We'll see if I'm right. I'm going to take a drink of the beer first. Sláinte. Today, just a little bit of it left. Oh, that's nice. Nice and bready, herbal. And then you get that oak. Poured about an ounce in here in my little Endeavor glass. I forgot I'd bought this glass. It got hid over there. Oh, yeah. So this is an American malt whiskey, but because it uses that Speyside malt, it does sort of resemble a Scotch single malt. But it is a little on the sweet side, resembling more of an Irish whiskey. Almost feels like a peated Irish. It's a little on the sweeter side, but it does. But it has those American sensibilities, if you will, and it does pair well with this. I didn't want a whiskey that would overtake the flavors of the beer. Nor did I want a beer that was going to overtake the whiskey. And most beers would. This is a light. The Rauschlager I didn't think would, but I wanted that right whiskey that would balance. I feel like I made the right choice. I feel like I made the right choice, man. I did like Endeavor Brewing and Spirits. I did have. So I only had one beer there. It was their Baltic. Their Baltic Porter was just gorgeous. They didn't have any cans for sale, unfortunately, or bottles. But I asked about this whiskey, and he gave me a sample, so I decided to buy a bottle of that whiskey. Because I really like the American single malt whiskey category, so I've been trying to buy as many as possible. Because I like the different interpretations, right? I feel like they can go a lot of different directions, whereas your traditional single malts, Scotch single malts, Irish single malts, even Japanese single malts tend to stay in their own little realm, whereas American single malts can go all of those different directions, depending on the malt they want to use and how they want to age it, whereas the others are sort of defined by their specific style. American single malts can go a different direction. It always has to be 100% malted barley, but how it's aged. Some American single malts will use new charred oak, which the others do not. Some will use charred oak or second use bourbon barrels that most do, and some will do a combination of both. But this one I find very interesting because it does have some elements of a Scotch single malt. Specifically, I'm going to say using that Space Side malt. Yeah, it certainly does have those elements. But because it's a little bit on the sweet side, more so than most Scotch would be, it kind of I get that single malt Irish kind of feel. But then it obviously is an American single malt, so we're feeling that as well. Anyway, Sláinte. I really like this beer. I didn't expect to like it this much, but I really do. I love those oak notes. You would think of maybe oak might overtake or the Rausch lager, but it does not. This thing is just done beautifully well. You get that oak, that little bit of smoke. This beer is just absolutely gorgeous. So there you go. All right, so I had a little bit of this one left as well. The What Even Is a Gingerbread Brown anyway at 8%. So I'm going to pour the rest of it in here. And I was looking at what whiskey to pair with this. And because I went with an American single malt, I thought, well, let me do an American single malt with this one. But one that was going in a different direction, like we talked about earlier, is I decided to use the Four Finger Distillery single malt. The single malt whiskey is crafted using a complex variety of malted barley, which brings out notes of chocolate and sweet oak from new charred oak barrels. So using the new charred oak, which only American single malts really do. This thing is absolutely gorgeous. So let me show you that bottle. Because I wanted a bolder whiskey to go with that gingerbread brown, right? Something that will stand up to the spice and molasses. Oh man. But because I chose a single malt for the first one, I said, well, the second one I want to do, didn't want to go bourbon, didn't want to go rye, I want to do two single malts. Oh, the nose on this thing is just gorgeous. I'm going to start with this beer here. I'm going to take a sip of the beer, and then I want to see how that whiskey pairs with it. Sláinte. I will. Wow. Wow. So I want to read a little bit from this can again. Imperial Brown Ale conditioned on gingerbread, brown sugar, cinnamon, ginger, allspice, and clove. And I will tell you, now that this has sat for a while, this nose is absolutely insane. Everything really, you really want this beer at about 55, 60 degrees to really feel. Oh man, those aromas and flavors. Oh, mercy, mercy. Oh yeah. So now I really feel that molasses, the ginger, the clove, the allspice, the cinnamon. Oh man, I'm gonna set that down. I'm gonna have a sip of the whiskey here. Excuse me, I had a burp stuck right there. Trying to get that sucker out. Anyway, a Four-Finger Distillery out of Indianapolis, Indiana. I had a great time at that particular distillery, I gotta tell you. Yeah, that works. And here's why. So, the gingerbread brown isn't as sweet as you might expect it to be, but neither is this whiskey. So they do work well together, and the spices that I have here lingering on my palate really make this work as well. Oh gosh, that's absolutely beautiful, man. I don't care who you are. That's just good. That's just tasty, man. I don't care who you are. Anyways, I digress. Merry Christmas to y'all, whatever you happen to be celebrating. Whether it be Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Festivus, amen. Solstice, hell, I don't care. As long as you're kind to folks, I don't care what your path to that is. Oh, that is gorgeous. I just wish we could all find a way to, get along and not criticize others that think differently than us. It is tough. It is tough for me, too, to be honest with you, because when I see folks discriminate, I want to be, I don't want to say kind things about them. If you're being a bigot, then I want to say unkind things to you. But then that's not helping the situation either now, is it? And that's tough for me. But then when I see people just being bigots for no reason other than that they're bigots, that bothers me, and I want to speak out. Or when they want to hide behind an archaic religious book to justify their ignorance and bigotry, well, that bothers me even more. That bothers me a lot, man. But I wish we could all just find a way to say, hey, Merry Christmas, Merry Festivus, Merry Kwanzaa, Merry whatever you happen to believe in, Merry Happy Hanukkah, whatever it might be, whatever the proper greeting would be, and just get along with each other, man. But if you're being hateful to another group of people, yeah, that's going to be an issue for me. If you want to keep other people from having the same rights that you have, then that's a problem. It's not freedom that you like, it's privilege. You want that privilege, you don't want everybody else to have those same freedoms. The thing is, there are folks that say, well, people don't want you to say Merry Christmas. Nobody's stopping anybody from saying Merry Christmas. Nobody's stopping you. Nobody's criticizing you for doing it. All other folks are saying is, maybe there are other holidays folks are celebrating besides the one you are. Man, that is nice. Let me pick up this beer again now that I've had that whiskey on my palate. What's interesting is I mentioned before that brown ale isn't. What I found interesting about this beer is that it isn't very sweet. You feel those notes, those gingerbread notes, those spice notes, but after the whiskey, you will pick up more sugars from the beer. Not necessarily making it very sweet, but you will feel more of that sweetness. But I also feel like the spice notes are elevated as well. It's a great beer. Both beers from Evil Twin are just gorgeous. It was interesting though too is it does finish a little drier than you might expect a beer like this to. So let me finish this whiskey up. Let me show you this bottle one last time. This Four Finger Distillery of Indianapolis, Indiana. If you ever get a chance, by golly, I cannot recommend that distillery highly enough. They are just awesome. The customer service there was impeccable. The products are amazing. You will not be disappointed, I guarantee you. Never been to Evil Twin. Maybe someday. Maybe someday I'll get in that neck of the woods. I've been in that area before, but it's been 100 years. Well, maybe not 100. Just feels like 100. It was probably what it was, 1990. I think it was probably 1990 when I was out there. Anyways, brewery wasn't there then, or I wasn't aware of it or cared. But anyway, it's been a while since I was in the neighborhood, is all I'm trying to say. Anyways, I am Tom, the beer whisperer, beer evangelist, prolific beer drinker, perversum, and I'm the whiskey whisperer, prolific whiskey drinker, perversum, and all around good guy, sláinte. Merry Christmas, all. Thanks for tuning in.